Welcome to Putting Down the Rock, a podcast about addiction, healing, and the journey back to ourselves. This podcast is for people who have been the strong one, the dependable one, the one who kept going even when life got heavy. If you've ever felt like you've been treading water while carrying the weight of the world, you're not alone. Here we talk honestly about trauma, addiction, emotional triggers, and what it really takes to rebuild a life after survival mode. No judgment, no pretending, just real conversations about healing, resistance, and learning how to finally put the rock down. I'm your host, NancyNance, and I'm glad you're here. Today, I want to talk about something that many people in addiction and recovery have in common. It's the identity of being the strong one. Maybe you know exactly what I mean. You were the dependable one, the one who showed up no matter what, the one who pushed through exhaustion, stress, heartbreak, and still managed to outperform most people around you. You were the one others leaned on. Friends called you when they were struggling. Family expected you to handle things. At work, you were often the first one there and the last one to leave. Being strong became part of your identity. And maybe, like me, you wore that identity with pride. Not arrogance, just confidence. Because you knew how much you were carrying. But here's something many of us realize later in life. Being the strong one often started much earlier than we thought. Sometimes it starts in childhood. When you grow up in an unpredictable emotional environment, your nervous system learns very quickly how to adapt. Maybe someone in your home had explosive emotions. Maybe there was criticism. Maybe there was silence. Maybe there were moments where you felt like a burden instead of feeling supported. So you learned something very important very early. You learned how to read the room. You learned how to sense people's moods. You learned where the emotional exit doors were. And sometimes you learned that performing well was the safest place to stand. Better grades, better performance, better behavior. Because when you performed well, you received something that every child needs: approval, validation, love. Over time, proving yourself became your protection system. Success became safety. And for a while, it worked. You built resistance. You developed drive. You pushed yourself harder than most people. But carrying that level of responsibility for years can also become exhausting. Imagine trying to tread water while holding a heavy rock. At first, you can manage it. You're strong. You're determined. But the longer you hold that rock, the heavier it feels. Your shoulders tighten. Your breathing gets shallow. Your arms start to burn. Eventually, you realize something important. No one can tread water forever while carrying a rock. This is where many people in addiction find themselves. Not because they are weak, but because they are exhausted emotionally, mentally, physically. Addiction often enters the picture as something that temporarily removes the weight. For a moment, the pressure disappears. The mind quiets down. The nervous system relaxes. You feel relief. And that relief can feel incredibly powerful. For some people, it's alcohol. For others, it's drugs. For others, it might be gambling, work, adrenaline, or any behavior that creates a dopamine surge. And at first, it feels like the answer. You tell yourself things like, I deserve this. I need a break. It's just weekends. It helps me relax. And maybe for a while, those things feel true. But eventually, something begins to happen. The thing that once helped you cope starts creating new problems. And the rock you were carrying before suddenly feels even heavier. That's the moment when awareness begins. It's the moment when many people start asking a deeper question or deeper questions. What am I really trying to escape? What emotions have I been avoiding? What beliefs about myself have I been carrying for years? Because the truth is, addiction is rarely just about the substance. More often, it's about emotional regulation. It's about pain that never had a safe place to go. Pain from rejection, pain from criticism, pain from loss, pain from betrayal. And sometimes that pain becomes buried under years of performance and strength. But here's something incredibly important to understand. The patterns we learned early in life were adaptations. They helped us survive. They helped us survive environments we didn't have any control over. But the patterns that helped us survive in the past don't always serve the person we are becoming today. Recovery invites us to ask a new question. Who am I without the performance? Who am I when I'm not proving anything? Who am I when I set the rock down? For many people, that question feels uncomfortable at first because letting go of the identity of being the strong one can feel vulnerable. But vulnerability is where healing begins. It's where we start learning new ways to regulate our emotions, new ways to build relationships, new ways to care for ourselves instead of constantly pushing ourselves. Recovery is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming aware, aware of our triggers, aware of our patterns, aware of the beliefs that once shaped our identity. And little by little, we begin rewriting that identity. Not the person defined by trauma, not the person defined by addiction, but the person defined by growth. So today, I want to leave you with a simple reflection. Ask yourself this question. What rock have I been carrying for too long? And what would it feel like to put it down, even for a moment? You don't have to figure everything out today. Recovery happens one step at a time, one breath at a time, one honest conversation at a time. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is admit that you don't have to carry everything alone. Thank you for listening to Putting Down the Rock. Until next time, take care of yourself. And remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is put the rock down. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Recovery isn't about perfection. It's about awareness, growth, and showing up for your life one day at a time. If something in this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. And remember, you don't have to carry everything alone. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is put the rock down. Until next time.